Back now to breaking news in the Middle East as we monitor escalating tensions. President Trump and Iran's Security Council have both agreed to a ceasefire that includes reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier this week, the president, as you know, threatened to bomb civilian infrastructure, bridges, power plants if Iran did not accept an agreement. In response, Iran called for young people to line up as human shields around its power plants. That's what you're seeing right here. The deal includes holding off an additional 2 weeks for bombing. So joining us tonight to discuss this, having been on the front lines himself in Vietnam and the Gulf War, is four-star Army General Barry McCaffrey. Thanks for joining us, General.
Good to be with you, Joyce.
So, as you know, the president backing off this threat to wipe out Iranian civilization, extending the deadline now for 2 weeks. So what is your initial reaction to that?
Well, the good news is that there's a ceasefire, and the direct negotiations will start on Friday in Islamabad between the Iranians and the U.S. There's no question in my mind that the interim agreement that we have on the table, apparently the U.S. has accepted the 10-point Iranian proposal as the basis of negotiation. But the initial take on it is there's no regime change. We don't get access to the nuclear program on-the-ground inspectors. They remain a threat to the region. And most importantly, the passage of 100 some odd ships a day through the Straits of Hormuz will be subject to Iranian military control. So it's hard to see this as anything but a step back by Trump. Now, the other thing has got to be said. The Trump Truth Social posting on Easter Day and also yesterday and last night was unhinged. It looks as if there's something severely wrong mentally, emotionally with the President of the United States, which is of great concern in the national security arena.
Not to mention, under the Pentagon's own definition of terrorism, the threats that he made on social media would constitute as a war crime, would they not?
Well, you know, we've never heard anything like this, not in World War II, this kind of threat. It'll annihilate a civilization permanently. It'll never come back. And by the way, that was coded word language implicitly suggesting that the U.S. might use nuclear weapons against Iran. That's the only conclusion you can reach. Obviously, air power after 6 weeks isn't going to annihilate the country overnight. So we have a real problem. There's no barriers around Trump, who appears to be cognitively impaired or out of control. He's not a drinker. So where is this wild, outlandish, illegal kind of conclusions coming from?
Well, as you know, more than 20 Democrats just today are calling for him to be removed with the 25th Amendment. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene and other conservatives are questioning whether he should be in the White House. What are your thoughts on that?
Not going to happen. You know, for where we are right now is the Congress of the United States, controlled by the Republicans, who have been either intimidated or persuaded by Trump to stand behind him. I listened to an interview with a decent kind of Republican congressman who refused to make any comments about the nature of Trump's postings, which are literally unhinged. So I think we're in trouble. The judicial system is holding, the media is holding, the Congress has walked away from their responsibilities under the Constitution, and we have a president that it looks as if there's something wrong with the poor man.
I want to talk more about some of the rhetoric coming out of the White House. American troops, as you know, come from many different faiths, but we've been hearing talk about this being a holy war and prophecy from the White House. How is that landing with the rank and file and our partners abroad?
Well, again, it's not American values. We're not a Christian crusading nation vying against Islam for control of oil in the Middle East. This is truly bizarre kinds of actions. And the Secretary of Defense, Hegseth, has been promoting a view of what we're up to that looks like a crusade, not a military operation. This government that's in charge right now is truly walked away from the norms, the values, and to some extent, the Constitution of the United States. Hard to know how this is going to play out. 2 more years of this coming up.
What do you think is the responsibility of Congress in this moment, and what do you think should happen next?
Well, I've taught American government off and on for years, and the Constitution, the shortest, oldest document on earth, starts with Article 1, the Congress, and they have these immense powers if they choose to use them. They control all money, in theory. They control the right to go to war, in theory. They control nominations of all senior officers in the government. They're not doing any of those things right now. Trump's putting people in office that are unqualified, not Senate confirmed. He's spending money that hasn't been authorized. It's truly a remarkable situation. And the Republicans, by and large, and a lot of them are decent, educated, adult people, are remaining mute. So the question is, how do we break out of this? Midterm elections may decide part of it. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a struggle to maintain the rule of law in this country until Trump's gone.
And then finally, I guess, to conclude, when you think of the war in Iran, tonight, in just the past few minutes, Iran has claimed victory, saying that it forced the president to accept this 10-point plan, that it, in this moment, has control of the Strait of Hormuz. Are they in a more powerful position, even with their military obliterated, than they were before the war?
Looks like it. It's an astonishing outcome. There has been an incredibly successful air-sea campaign against the Iranian armed forces and the IRGC in particular. So it's been a devastating impact, to include in their nuclear production program, their production of ballistic missiles. So that's good. But at the end of the day, this has been a political strategic defeat for Trump on his misjudged operation against Iran.
General McCaffrey, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and I know in the days ahead we'll be talking with you again, because we still are all waiting to see how this is all going to unfold in the weeks ahead. Thank you.
All right.